I recently had the opportunity to interview 𝗙𝗪𝗀𝗃, an Emmy Award-winning designer as well as the CEO and founder of 𝗨𝗀𝗃, an online educational platform with the mission to teach 1 billion people to earn money by doing what they love. It was a super fruitful discussion in which we covered topics such as how to grow on social media, how to be happy as a content creator, how to not lose your passion and stay motivated, as well as my favorite, how to get hired by 𝗙𝗪𝗀 himself. So smash that like button and let's dive straight into the interview. 𝗙𝗪𝗀 has become a mentor and a hero to millions of people. But who are some of the mentors that 𝗙𝗪𝗀 has and what are the key takeaways that they have taught him? This is the first lesson. Enjoy.
My real life mentors include a gentleman by the name of 𝗙𝗪𝗃, he was my business coach for over 13 years. My father's been a mentor of mine, my older brother, and my mom, who's an artist herself. And those are people who shaped my thinking. Also forget the instructors that I've had at Art Center, the people who taught me how to design, my professor Simon Johnston, my lettering instructor Niels Lindström, and Fred Falo, and all these wonderful teachers I had at Art Center. In your life, if you decide to work hard at the beginning, you can enjoy the rest of your life. But if you decide to kind of apply that hard work over time, you'll struggle for the rest of your life. So he said, just condense it, because when you're young, you can set the foundation for a good education, for a good career, and then things will take care of itself. And I've carried that lesson with me until today.
Not many of you might know this, but 𝗙𝗪𝗀 actually began his career when he was 17. At the time, he was working at the print shop. So how did someone working at the print shop at 17 turn to this person impacting millions of lives? Learn this in the next takeaway.
Yeah, up until when I was 17, I wasn't sure I wanted to do design. In fact, one of my high school friends, she would show me like lettering. She's like, isn't this really fun, like to do hand lettering? And I remember saying to her, kind of just being totally dismissive, like, I don't know why anybody would want to do hand lettering. This sounds really tedious and boring to me. But it wasn't until I met a real life graphic designer. His name is Dean Walker. And when I met him, I realized the potential of creativity as a practical profession. So that launched me into studying design and going to Art Center and getting my portfolio together, and then ultimately launching my company.
Another especially important part of 𝗙𝗪𝗀's journey has been some of the hurdles that he had to go through. And I believe that this is especially important, so listen closely.
I don't want to get good at something that I don't love. Like, never get good at things that you don't enjoy or love. And I went to work for other people and I didn't last very long. I think the longest job I've had as a professional was something around 3 or 4 months, and that was it. I would quit because it's like every job that I've ever had has had me yearning to want to do something else, to have more autonomy, more creativity, more input, more impact and influence in the way that things were done. And it started out very early on when I was just doing manual labor for minimum wage, stocking shelves, flipping burgers and dropping fries. This is not fulfilling for me in my creative soul. I want to do something more. I want to use my brain and my creativity. After having worked at several places, I just realized that the only place I'm going to be really happy with is a place that I designed for myself. So that's when I put in my notice, and I put in my 2 weeks notice, and I said, I'm going to finish up my work here, and then I'm going to go off and I'm going to start my own company. And I would rather suffer. I would rather be poor than to do what other people want of me that doesn't align with what I want inside. And so the first 2 years of starting my business, and keep this in mind, this is in 1995. I just graduated school. I don't have a professional portfolio. I don't have contacts. I have no marketing experience, no sales experience. I don't even know how to budget my projects. I was just making stuff up as I went. And those first 2 years were really tough because what do you do when you have no clients? Who do you call? And if clients did call, and they did call every once in a while, and they'd ask to see your work, it's just a bunch of student work. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to bid projects. And so I remember working on a project, literally the client paid us $500. $500 to make a 30-second commercial. It was for a good cause, so that's why I agreed to do it. It was for an anti-drug program. I remember like sleeping on the floor, literally on the concrete floor next to my workstation, just making sure everything was rendering and everything was okay. And I did that for a couple of nights in a row for $500. So yeah, in the very beginning, it was really tough.
We have to understand that everyone who is at the top right now has also gone through the same journey, has also faced similar problems. He too has worked for several $100s a project. He too has struggled. Never forget that. If you want to understand how 𝗙𝗪𝗀 truly went from a 17-year-old designer with no experience to the person who he is right now, we have to understand what his advice would be to the younger generation. And this is the next lesson.
My advice would be to start making content right away, even when you're not ready, to start to keep a journal, but to keep the journal in public. So social media is a form of public journaling. So start doing that. Do this right away, because in the process of articulating your ideas, you get clarity in your own thinking and you get practice at communicating with other people. And in this world, especially if you want to be a leader of any sort, if you want to be a leader within a company, if you want to run your own company, if you want to be a public figure, communication is one of the primary skills that you need to develop and work on for the rest of your life. Keep working on that. And one way to do that is to do public journaling. This is what I do. So I share all kinds of random thoughts and ideas and drawings and diagrams and concepts with people all the time. And when they step back, they're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. I know I have an idea worth sharing.
Another part which I wanted to cover in this interview was how to deal with losing passion and motivation about what we do. Burnout is a common problem in the creative industry, and I wanted to hear the opinion of 𝗙rie himself on the topic. Watch it right here.
And I said this to him, I said, your lack of passion for what it is that you're doing isn't a sign that you're not interested in it. It's a sign that you're not making enough progress. Because, okay, so he's a cinematographer, he shoots videos and he does editing, okay? So he's been doing this for about 3 years and he just says, I think I need to do something different with my life. I said, check this out. If you were to do cinematography or editing for George Lucas or Michael Bay, would you get really excited again? If you had a deal with Netflix and they were giving you $400,000 per episode, would you get really excited? He goes, yes, I would be really excited. I see. So you're not losing interest. You're not losing passion. It's because you're not making progress. So your dispassion is a byproduct of your lack of progress. And it's because he's in the dip. Yeah. Right. In the beginning, it was really fun. It was super exciting. Everything's new and everything's like you're making so much progress. And then the hard work comes. And this is where the dip lives and where most people just fail and they stop learning. You didn't put in the time to learn your craft and you didn't set your goals high enough because now you've stopped learning. You've stopped becoming hungry for it. And the symptom of it is you're losing passion. You're losing that fire. Just remember this. If you're designing logos, if you're making videos, if you're doing social media content, whatever it is that you're doing, and you're feeling like, gosh, I just don't have that spark anymore. The lack of the spark is a sign that you're not growing. Challenge yourself. Stay in the dip and get to the other side because the other side is so good.
On the topic of losing passion and motivation, 𝗙rie also shared a phenomenal quote by Stefan Madens from his book 𝗨𝗪𝗻 on how you can regain your passion for work once again. Listen to this snippet right here.
And he said, embrace the suck. You know, everybody wants everything to be easy. I remember on a Clubhouse call yesterday, somebody said, you know, it's really difficult to sell brand strategy. I said, yes, it's supposed to be difficult and you should like that it's difficult. Because difficulty is a natural barrier to keep other people out. And if you do something that few people do, it's valuable. If hand lettering, if hand drawing like calligraphy or rendering beautiful images was easy, then what you do would not be special. And so instead of looking at things that are difficult and challenging and feeling burnt out and all those kinds of things, instead of looking at that like, oh, I just can't get through this, you should say, oh, this is going to keep out a lot of people. I need to forge ahead. Okay, I just need to persevere. I need to be resolute in my determination to get to the other side. We talked about this, okay? So every problem that exists is an opportunity in disguise. We just have to be better at looking for it and processing it differently. So when I lose a client, I don't sit there and say, oh God, the world is so unfair. They owe me everything. Why would they do this? Are they stupid or something? I go over it with my own team. I say, what can we do better? Do we learn anything from this experience? And let's change one or two things about the way we approach new clients so that next time they will fall over themselves just to give us money. And if we do this consistently enough over time, we get really good at presenting ourselves and winning new work.
Moving onwards from the more broad life advice to the content creator advice in specific, 𝗙rie touched upon on how to stay organized as a content creator / entrepreneur.
If your days feel disorganized, it's because you lack clarity in what it is that you want from your day. It's either you run your day or your day runs you. That's the expression, right? So at night, before you go to bed, just spend 10 minutes writing and thinking about what it is that you need to get done tomorrow. I find that there's two benefits to this. One, you won't wake up like in a panic with anxiety, like, oh, what am I going to do today? Two, more importantly, You activate your archival brain, your subconscious mind, to start working and organizing and preparing for the next day. Now, I like to use and squeeze as much of my brain power as possible. So even when I'm sleeping, even when I'm not paying attention, my subconscious Chris is working for conscious Chris. And so this happens to me all the time. My wife finds this mildly amusing and annoying at the same time, because I'll just go to sleep and then I'll wake up the next morning and say, honey, I just wrote the beginning to my talk. And she's like, what are you talking about? I said, I went to sleep, and before I went to bed, I said, hey, I need your help today, buddy. And I'm talking to myself. I need your help in writing this talk. We've been thinking about X, Y, and Z. I've been organizing things. And so my subconscious brain doesn't just run off and just do whatever it wants to do. I'm giving it a set of instructions. And there are famous writers who have done this before.
Yeah. Except the impressive feat that 𝗙଼cie𝗹𝗹𝗀 has in his creative journey, he also has managed to dominate social media. He was able to grow close to 500,000 followers on Instagram in the span of just a few years, and this is what he had to say about social media trends.
I don't see any trends for social media. All I tell you is make good content. If you make good content, I don't care what platform you're on, I don't care what typefaces you're using, you got to make good content that helps people have a little win, to pick themselves up, to solve a problem they've not been able to solve before. And you can see I'll jump from platform to platform, and I'm having success because I'm using that same formula. Formula number one is give value to other people. Just give more than you take. And the more you give, the better off you'll be, okay? It doesn't matter if you're on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or anywhere else. Give people something that they can care about, that they're going to feel like they want to share. So do that.
And I heavily agree with 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗀 on this topic. A lot of people are focused on micromanaging their content whilst ignoring the big picture. Is this image the right one? Is this word the correct one? These are all things that are wasting your time, whilst they still haven't nailed down the fundamentals, which are understand your audience, experiment with different content formats in order to find which one works for you, and then solve your audience problems utilizing these content formats. On the topic of trends, I also asked for his opinion on carousels and their rise in popularity in recent years. Here's what 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗀 had to say.
Well, I agree with a lot of the sentiments. It's not suited for every industry, because people that are in different fields, like say you're a photographer and they ask me, can I use carousels? I think you can, but it's not ideally suited for that unless you like to tell stories through frames. And if you're not used to that, then it's not ideally suited for you. But I think carousels are really untapped potential for people who like to teach. If you like to teach, if you like to share complex ideas, I think carousels are ideally suited for you. Now, whether or not it'll be around in a year or not is anybody's guess, but I think that anything that Instagram does that keeps you on the app longer, they're going to keep promoting. So that's why Reels is important to your long-term Instagram strategy, because it's going to keep you on app longer. And so they're going to reward anybody that's a prolific creator who knows how to keep people's attention. And we're seeing it on Instagram. We see it on LinkedIn. We see it in Clubhouse and everywhere else. They want to connect good content with people who are looking for those things. So just because you see people doing carousels doesn't mean you are doing it well. You're not following some of the principles that we've been trying to teach people. And you just look at my account and you can reverse engineer some of those ideas.
Right now, we are going to be diving into more business-related topics. And because a strong team is foundational for every business, the first question was guided towards how to build a strong team.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and it's going to sound odd, it's not skill. The most important thing is to make sure your team shares your core values and your beliefs. This is really, really important. So for the first 10 to 15 years of running my company, I hired based on talent, the people that were most talented. But those people came with all kinds of toxic energy. They wanted to be the stars, the prima donnas, if you will. And it created a lot of friction in the office space. They were competing for resources. They wanted to be the center of attention. And they generated drama where no drama existed. Okay, so I remember one time we had a really good year, financially speaking, and I gave out really large bonuses in the tens of thousands of dollars for all the key players. And the person who received this bonus was so thankful. And she walked over and she hugged me. She had like almost tears in her eyes and like, I've never received a bonus this big. And I said, that's great. You've earned it. And then like within an hour later, she comes back into my office and she asked me, Chris, I'm just curious. What did you give other people? I said, that's none of your business. And then she got upset because she wanted to make sure that her amount was far more than anyone else in the company. So it's these kinds of things that we obviously don't have shared beliefs. And if I gave her less, but it was more than everyone else, she would have been happy. But if I gave her a lot of money, but it wasn't significantly more than everyone else, so it's like that kind of mentality is super toxic. And so I've had lots of people like this in my company from all kinds of positions in the non-creative roles as well as the creative roles. It made me want to not even show up to my own company. I remember sitting in the parking lot of my own building, not wanting to go upstairs to the office because I saw the person's car already parked there. And it's not just a person, it was several people. And I'm like, this is just terrible. And you think like, did I become a prisoner of my own company? And the answer is yes. I'm not going to play victim here because I should have just fired every single person, but firing every single one would affect everyone else's jobs. So I had to slowly figure out who am I? What are my core beliefs? And I want to make sure the company's culture reflects those core beliefs and values.
Moving onwards, how to gain more business? Well, obviously by tackling client objections better and more effectively. And here's what 𝗙ص𝗹𝗹𝗀 had to say on the topic.
First, I'm going to recommend that if you have a client objection, you should be the one to bring it up first. So you should already know what clients are going to say about you, and you should bring it up first. Second is the objection handling is much better done over voice or via Zoom or live chat like this, because you're not that good of a writer. You aren't. Most of us are not. I include myself there. And the tone in which you say something, the pauses, the phrasing, you lose all of that in text. And most people want to do it via DMs or emails because they're afraid. They're afraid of like saying what it is that they think and feel. And they're afraid of the tension and the conflict because they're conflict averse. You got to get over this part. But generally speaking, there's a couple of principles I want to share with you. I actually even teach a course on this called a framework called the Socratic Six, right? 6 ways to respond to most objections. The first one I would do is I would just agree with the person because people need to be acknowledged and understood. So when the client says, this price is crazy, don't say, well, you're cheap. No, it's not. You're just arguing with them. And at that point, they say, this person is not acknowledging that this is a lot of money and they're not understanding what the heck I'm saying. So the first way to handle an objection is just to agree. When clients say, that's a lot of money, that is a lot of money. I respect that this is a lot of money for you. Let's talk about that. And then we can have a conversation. So now they feel like, oh my God, Chris, you heard me. You understood. And you say it with a little humor, like a little levity, because you notice like I'll smile when I say things like, oh, that is a lot of money. You're right. The other thing is there's this technique I call the raging bull. When someone has a really strong emotion, you need to be able to address that. If you don't, the raging bull will just keep attacking you. So when a client is really angry for no reason, you're like, why the heck are they being so crazy and condescending to me? You respond in a defensive position. You're like, stop that. I'm gonna fight you. But you know what? You don't have leverage. That's the problem. The client holds a lot of the leverage. So trying to fight somebody who's like 3 times your size, I mean, you might win from time to time, but you're gonna walk with a lot of bruises, okay? So what I wanna share with you is this, is when you feel like there's a strong emotion coming from the other person, you should address it. And the way you address it, you would say something like this. Okay, so for example, the client would say, you know, like, I don't know why designers like you always think you can just charge so much money. And I just don't even think this is hard. And I don't even know if you're worth it. That's a lot of emotion, right? So what I'm going to say is like, oh my gosh, is everything okay? What do you mean? I said, well, you seem to be anxious and angry. And I just started talking to you. Did I do something to offend you? No. Is this a good time for us to talk? Or would you like to postpone this call? Like, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm like, it's okay. What's the problem? You know, the last designer that I hired totally screwed me over in the job. They gave me subpar work and they cost me an arm and a leg. I feel bad. Sometimes designers will do that. They'll drop the ball. So you have every right to be angry. What happened there? See, so I'll take the time to understand them. Yeah. And each time I do that, you'll notice my energy is very different than their energy. And eventually the raging bull will start to calm down. And now I'm going to meet them where they're at. This is super powerful, you guys. So I've shared 2 of the Socratic Six with you, the raging bull and the mirroring. So when somebody says something, just agree with them. Just agree with them and see what happens.
I saved the best for last. Probably the dream of every designer out there. Getting hired by 𝗙ص𝗹𝗹𝗀. This is the one tip that Chris himself gave if you want to be hired by him.
If you have the right mindset, you will find a way for me to say yes. They keep proving themselves. They give more value than what they take. And then I sit back and I think, I got to find a job for them. I got to create something for them. I pride myself on a person who spots talent, hard work, and someone who takes initiative. And so that's how a lot of our current employees are in the company right now. They just make it hard for me to ignore them in a positive way, not in an annoying way. If you do that, I'll shut you down, I'll block you.
I hope that these 12 lessons have been super helpful to you. I know for a fact that they have been extraordinary for me. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like button and subscribe to my channel for more social media / business related content.